he was a quarterback once, and maybe we could ask him about all that stuff.
The one and the only Kenny Mayne joining us here on the Bostonian versus the Book. Kenny, Matt, and Dave, how are you? Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in.
I apologize. I was actually late because it took me that long to figure out how to move the link over to Chrome. It's not supported by Safari.
Sorry.
I did it like I've done this before. Zoom is my favorite one. No offense to if you guys are big StreamYard people over there. Sponsored by StreamYard, this show. But for those who don't know, you get a link and you click on it. Sometimes it's there you go. You're talking to people. Other times you got to move it over to a different site. Computer technology. Neil Everett's never getting on your show.
There is. I told you, Kenny, it's a big no. I already texted him and said, listen, it's TV gold. If we could get you and Kenny on at the same time, he won't even respond. Kenny, he won't even respond.
Does he even have a phone? He never did Twitter. He didn't, and Twitter's falling apart, by the way. But yeah, so it took me that long. I had some help from my friend that said, no, you got to copy, you got to Command C, and then you got to take it to the top, the URL little thingy.
Yes.
It worked out ultimately. I got about 20 excuses about that UNLV game. Firstly, the very first, and Boise State, take nothing away. That's a really good team. That running back's ridiculous. Opening drive, do we have like 3 first downs? Like bang, 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 moving up the field, had a dumb penalty, then a terrible 20-yard sack. And like it would have been so nice to open up with at least a 3, right? Just come down the field, be in the game. Then they had the 80-some-yard run to the 4. Immediately, what do we have? A delay a game, I think. That always happens. Didn't even score there. Went for it on 4th down, got nothing. So you're still nothing. Then you finally score. And I was like, visions of grandeur here. Like, if we score again, and we could have, now you got to either get one drive like a pro style, minute and a half, try to do it. So while Boise State was the better team, you really can't deny they played a better game. They're a strong team. The 20-degree weather didn't help. We have a handful of pretty solid excuses, but again, Boise State, good going. They've been a good program for a while, and they got a strong running back up against a guy who played both ways down at Colorado, so that's tough for him. Picked the wrong year to go for 3,000 yards.
Right? Yeah. We got business to get to, and we will, but we got a couple questions.
We got a StreamYard commercial, I'm sure, right out of the gate.
We have no commercials and no filter and no bosses. So you can say whatever the hell you want, however the hell you want to say it. So
correct.
First order of business is, Kenny, what was it like going to UNLV in the late 70s, early 80s when you did? Because it's very different now. They play home games in this Allegiant Stadium, and, Matt and I live here. I've been here for 21 years now. My middle daughter did a year there. We're very familiar. Matt is an adjunct professor at UNLV.
Yeah.
It looks very different now than it probably did when you showed up from that JUCO to come down here and play football.
And it looked very different than from my parents going there to watch nuclear explosions above ground in the 40s and 50s, But we still thought it was exciting. I mean, the first month, you literally go out every single night. You're going, got to see this, got to see that. And then eventually you kind of like, I can't do this. I'm 19 and I can't even keep up with this. And you have no money. I mean, I think our scholarship check was $480 a month, which doesn't sound like very much today, but it was enough to get by in 79, 80. You had like 200 rent, make your 200 last. You had a little money from your summer job or whatever. But the strip was just like straight up and down, north and south. You knew where everything was. Now we got all these side roads, and it's confusing even now. And I've been back many times, but it was an exciting time. But you definitely, at least I did, and I think most of my teammates, you took the football very seriously. You took your school seriously. There was only so much time to go screw around and do other stuff. So It wasn't at all the distraction that everybody paints it to be. There's a lot of parents, I can't let my kid go to Las Vegas. It's like they're going to get doing that kind of stuff wherever they go. If they go to Pullman, Washington, they're going to be drinking in the dorms or whatever.
Yes.
So, you have those distractions, and now you have such opportunity. If you're in sports broadcasting today, I can't think of a better place to go than UNLV. Every sport comes through Las Vegas. Name any sport there, and you get to go cover it as an intern or as a Cub reporter or whatever, and get that kind of experience. So there's a whole bunch of good things to recommend about coming out there for school and hopefully for football as well.
Kenny, I teach a audio broadcasting course at UNLV. So I guess my question would be today, my kids, actually, as I'm talking right now, kids are submitting their final today to me for my class. What advice would you give to a kid who's looking to go either into journalism or broadcasting? You know, you mentioned UNLV is a great place to be, but do you have any advice for the next generation? Because a lot of them are trying to figure out what the heck to do in this ever-changing world of media and consolidation. And they see a lot of people out of work, frankly, people being laid off left and right in media. What is there advice you would give to a young person coming out?
I think the first one is just be doing something. When I was in my freelance period, I went to Seattle, started as a gopher, finally got on TV, left that job. And I had like a 3 or 4 year period where I was trying to get to ESPN. And so it's the same case for somebody just coming out of school. I basically was unemployed, trying to figure out my life. I would like make up work, and you have better chance to do so today. Let's say you love women's basketball or you love lacrosse or whatever your sport is that you think you know a lot about. Go start covering it on your own. Don't worry about the money yet. Shoot it on your iPhone, put out your little reports, create a YouTube page, stick it on Instagram. So you can kind of be developing and making your mistakes while maybe not getting paid yet. Maybe you get lucky and somebody likes you and they want to pay you a certain amount for that school to be their guy or their girl. I would be in Seattle and I would call every TV station in the city the Seahawks were playing, right? The Seahawks had a home game against Kansas City, as an example. I'd grab the NFL Black Book, call the 11 TV stations in the greater area. Are you sending a crew? And if they said no, I said, I can be your crew. And we'd negotiate a price. I'd pay a cameraman. I'd be the guy doing interviews after the game. And then we'd stick it on a satellite. And they would look like they had a reporter at the Chiefs Seahawks game or whatever the case. That's just like a good example of I kind of got inventive and I figured here's a way I can market myself, make a few dollars and still get more experience. I think today, even though, like you said, the job market, who the hell even knows anymore? Companies are consolidating and cutting back and being bought and sold, but there's still TV channels, there's still radio, there's still podcasts. In fact, more and more. And some people do, a healthy living just, getting on Instagram or getting on Twitter, what was Twitter, and just kind of making a name for himself that way. So be doing something, maybe take a second job that pays the bills. My wife was a teacher, had to work 2 other jobs to get by when she first got out of school, working as a bartender or something at night. So there are more opportunities, even if the whole of the industry is kind of unknown right now. They seem to be paying insane amount of money to some people, and then they consolidate and knock out the little people because
that's unbelievable.
With fewer. But that's true with a lot of businesses, right? You see that where companies will come in, buy a company, kind of like break it down for parts and make a profit off of it. But I'm very bullish on the fact that there's still going to be opportunities, and there still are all sorts of different ways to get your story out there and get your writing out there.
Hustle. You got to hustle. That's what I tell. I mean, I coach my daughters and, the kids I coach. You have to work. You have to put in the work. And if you put in the work.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but to that point, our last kid just went to college. So 2 graduated, one's at USC, one's in New York City at Barnard. And everybody gets hung up about what school you're going to. And there's this competition and people are doing the SAT practices when they're in 9th grade. And, I just think there's way too much pressure on these middle school and high school kids about where they're going to go, where they're going to end up, because that's to say, if you don't make it to Notre Dame or you don't make it to, an Ivy League school or Stanford or whatever, then you're nothing. Like, that's kind of stupid, because the real truth is once you get out doing what you do, nobody even asks what school you went to. They didn't ask if you graduated. They want to see your last story you wrote or the last stand-up you did. So even though it's not a bad thing to go to a well-recommended school and a high prestige, there's nothing wrong with that. But it isn't to say somebody could come out of Western Washington and Bellingham, Washington, and be the next great at whatever he or she wants to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And listen, I read this Mike Seeley story. Mike Seeley's a friend of mine. I read the story he wrote on you. You were picking up garbage and doing like you got to do stuff in between. Is that real, Kenny? You were actually a garbage can guy?
Back when I went to UNLV, just before actually, my summer job and one winter time, I was a garbage man in Seattle. It was like a part-time job and made pretty decent money, hanging on the back of the truck. Years later, when I left my TV job in Seattle, I'd been interviewed by ESPN, but I hadn't been hired. So for some reason, I quit that job. Don't even ask. And now I went through like a 3 or 4 year struggle of freelancing, the Kansas City example. I did freelance for ESPN, for Prime, for NBA Entertainment, for TSN in Canada. Anybody who would have me do something, they knew I was out in Seattle. Hey, go interview Gary Payton. We want to use a soundbite and whatever. I just stayed in the game, right?
Yep.
And one of my side jobs during that time was a garbage can assembler. I literally made garbage cans, and that got me through a few months. Then I sold prepaid legal insurance. Then I could
that was hard.
I could sell you right now. Just, sir, God forbid there be any serious situations in your life, but with prepaid legal insurance, you'll have an attorney at your disposal. It's only $9.95 a month. We'll just put it on your card. Can I get my supervisor?
Hey, my dad retired and had to do that too. So I still have the prepaid legal insurance cards, Kenny.
It's actually a thriving business,
No
so
doubt.
we're laughing about it, but they're doing pretty well, I think.
We were too early. You were too early.
I
Like
know,
if you'd have
I was
hung
ahead of
on
the game.
now, it would have been a monster.
Yeah, I mean, when I tried to go back to Garbage Man, the guy in charge said, hey, we're down to one-man crews now. They got the claw that picks up the can. They don't need it in the back. The industry had passed me by in those intervening years. But eventually, I bothered ESPN enough times. ESPN2 was added. Keith Olbermann went back to 1. Stuart Scott moved up to be the main anchor with Susie Colbert, and they needed one more guy, and that was me. And going back to like what schools you pick, these highly regarded in a bunch of cases. Even at my time, it wasn't as much the case like nationally known and things, but I had a great group of people that taught me. Barbara Cloud in journalism, and Al Paterud in broadcasting, and Dina Titus, your representative, was my political science instructor.
Wow.
I had really strong support from the faculty there, and Dr. Al used to just give us all sorts of rope to go experiment and just do your thing. Go out and make something up. We're not going to even care if it's good or if it's bad, but the opportunity for you to go and figure it out on your own, that was really what the goal of the class was.
How do you get a guy like Barry Odom to stay then? Because he leaves yesterday, he takes a big money deal to go to Purdue, and it's a Power, 5 school and all this other stuff. But I mean, Matt and I went to multiple games this year, covered them, and went as fans and took the kids, and it was exciting to be good at football here because I went to Penn State, and Matt grew up in Boston, and his Patriots been good his whole life. I mean, not his whole, but it was fun, Kenny. And now it's kind of a bummer, because I mean, the basketball was before we moved here, and they haven't been good. There was a little bit of buzz in the city, and it's done now. We're
not necessarily done, but losing him doesn't help right away. I'll give you that much. They'll figure it out. They're in a bowl game. Hopefully, there's some momentum from doing well in that. That's coming up in like a week.
Yeah.
But it's part of it is that's just life. I don't really begrudge him. If he thought for him and his family that was a better thing, I can't be mad at him for that. He gave us a couple really great years, turned the program in the right direction. Not that it wasn't terrible before. Coach Arroyo actually had it slightly going the right way. Then he came in and we really took off. So a whole bunch of schools would love to say they had 10 wins, and now it could be 11 with a bowl win. I'm not bumming out yet because I think a lot of people saw the fun they had in Vegas. The town has its own attraction. The school is great and building up. I still think there's a lot of good stuff to sell. Whoever is named the coach, that's going to bring in some good kids, and hopefully a lot of them stay around.
I grew up, like Dave said, outside of Boston, watching SportsCenter, watching Bristol. I went to UMass. One of my journalism, we took my entire group of the sports department at WMUA, the radio station. We came down, we sat on the desks at SportsCenter, and we pretended like we were going to be you guys. And
that's what I did. I did that for 27 years.
Right. You just sat there and had an amazing time. What's the group like, the fraternity, the group of people that had the job that you, Scott Van Pelt, the Keith Olbermanns of the world? I know Neil, obviously you stay in touch. What's that like, being a part of the group of people that sat in that chair for so many years?
It's funny because there's sort of like different eras of it. I was second generation, right? I wasn't in the very first that started. In fact, what's funny about it, when ESPN started, I was at UNLV, 1979. And I distinctly remember even saying it, like, who the hell wants 24 hours of sports? Like, I played football, been into sports my whole life, right? I didn't quite see the value of this. Because remember, in the early days, they'd go to like the the business channel overnight, right? Or they go to color bars. They didn't have 24 hours programming, but eventually they did. So I was kind of like the next generation. 15 years later, when they brought in some new people, they added ESPN too. But yeah, definitely fond memories thinking that you were part of something that ends up being quoted and ends up, kind of part of Americana. They're still doing great stuff. A lot of people will criticize it like it's changed. There's definitely lots of different programming on, but SportsCenter, kind of the mainstay of it, is still a really good show. They got good people doing good shows.
But you guys, Kenny, I mean, you guys brought something to that I think kids, back to the kids for a second about looking for jobs, the entertainment factor. I can find a highlight anywhere on my phone today, but a Kenny Mayne hosted show doing a highlight is a different experience from a viewership perspective. Isn't it still all about entertainment? Like, forget about just telling stats and scores and highlights and whatnot, but it's still about the entertainment factor.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think there were different schools of thought on it. Some people thought that some of us, Stuart and me and some of the others, took it too far and were having too much fun and being too silly. Other people are like, no, that's why I am watching. I already know the score is 5-4. I want to hear how you describe it. And it's the same today. The way Van Pelt does his, the way Chris Berman's still doing great football highlights. But there were some kind of the old guard that thought that we were having too much fun. Like, you got to get it. So Stuart was really smart about it. He would overload the highlight with just truckload of statistics and save room for his booyahs and whatever else he wanted to put in. But I think you take serious things seriously and the rest of it less so. And when we had some terrible thing happen, a death or a crime story or investigation, we had the background in journalism to know how to write those stories and present them as they should be presented. But if it's Lakers playing the Knicks and some guy does some crazy thing, why would you not want to have fun with it and bring in cultural references or make up your new silly line for a home run call or whatever the case be? And I think that's why people watch. You look forward. What are they going to do tonight at 11? I can't wait for Dan and Keith to call the game the way they're going to call it.
I'll never forget. I was watching the night that or the day that Kobe passed. You were working, right? Yeah, that was serious. It was time to be serious, and you were serious. But again, there were so many things that you said, and I know either I was at home watching or in a sports book working and watching, and we had you on, and we were laughing out loud funny. So this is really cool to actually meet you and talk to you.
Here's but after, dog. Wait,
what's the dog's name, Kenny?
Muller. Turn. Look at the
guy. Muller.
Hi, Muller.
Hey, look at Muller.
Right there.
There we go.
Oh, that's a cute dog.
We have 2 dogs and 2 cats.
Wait, okay. and how many kids?
4 girls. So Gretchen had 2.
You're an all girl dad too?
Gretchen had 2 and I had 2. So together we have 4. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He has 3. I have 1.
And Matt has 1. We're all girl dads. Kenny, I had hair before all these girls. It's gone. Yep. They got it all.
All right, Dave, hold on. Wait. Do you want me to try to pull this off? Neil's here.
How did he figure out how to
ask him? Kenny, you ask him.
Okay. I'm gonna try to pull this off. Okay. I have no idea if I can or not pull this off.
This is gonna work. I know it's gonna work.
It's gonna work. I don't know if this is gonna work. Hold on 1 second. If this is gonna work, let's see if we could.
Come in, Neil.
Oh my
this all
gosh!
It worked.
There he is. It worked.
Neil Everett running the show.
Neil, moon landing.
Is your mic working?
Is my mic working?
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Holy crap, Kenny! I
Oregon
feel like we just landed on the moon. You're right. Are you wearing an Oregon hat? Where did you? You told me you're traveling. This is bullshit.
First of all, Kenny, I'm sorry to see that the times are so tight. We've had to not pay the lighting bill.
Let me work on that. You guys talk for a minute. Let me see.
All right. I'm here to promote my movie. I'm Skee Ball with Ken Griffey Sr.
Wait a second.
We haven't even. Wait, how's that? Is that
better?
Wait, that's better.
Wait, look at this. Right here.
Look at that.
That's from the movie.
Whoa. Wiffle ball. We're going to talk about wiffle ball. Absolutely. We have to promote because I can't wait to hear about the day that you had in 1989.
Neil, where are you right now?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. All right. You did
in my backyard.
All right, that's good. Everything.
You
good?
wearing your Penn State hat?
No, I put it away right now. I didn't want to disrespect you after you guys, kicked our ass and went up and down the field. Were you excited Were you excited on Saturday?
Yeah, I was nervous. I mean, it's nice to come into that big shot conference and win it in your first year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you didn't have to play Washington and Mike Penix this year, so it was
See?
a little easier road.
We had to play Washington. We didn't have to play Mike Penix.
Oh, that's true.
I'll
right.
ask you both. How does it feel to have like Oregon in the Big Ten? I still can't. Kenny, I mean, you grew up there. Like, there's no more Pac-12. It's unbelievable.
The Pac-8. In fact, I watched Washington State and Oregon. Dan Fouts was the quarterback. Bobby Moore, who would be Ahmad Rashad, against Bernard Jackson, the great runner for Washington State. I go way back. Sonny Sixkiller at Washington. Ty Payne.
Jack Thompson, the throwing Samoan.
He came later, though. Yeah. No, I'm so old. I'm a Pac-8 guy, then 10 and 12. And when the Pac-8 added teams, that even seemed weird, right? Like that was enough of a change. But, it's just the landscape. Everybody, just like the players and the coaches, they look out for themselves for whatever the next better deal is. Conferences did the same thing. I don't know who the hell's in any conference anymore. If I would fail the SportsCenter PA test badly, but also I don't care. But I'm happy for Neil, even though Oregon ruined my life. But other than that, I love the state of Oregon. I love Neil, and I'm happy for the Ducks.
Are you going to the Rose Bowl, Neil?
Oh yeah, for sure. I might even go to the parade.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
I might meet you there then. All
Neil,
right.
we asked this question to Kenny. I want to ask it to you as well about working at ESPN back when ESPN SportsCenter was such an iconic thing. What are some of your memories of working with Kenny? What are some of your memories just being there? Because as a kid who grew up outside of Boston, Bristol, Connecticut was sort of like that was Wizard of Oz type stuff, like that whole campus that you guys worked on. What are some of your memories of working with Kenny and working at ESPN?
Oh, how much you loved Connecticut.
Well, I never, really dreamt of getting to ESPN. It was never in the plan. It kind of fell into my lap, and so I was a fan of certain people as just a sports watcher. And Kenny Mayne was one of my favorites for obvious reasons. So then the first time I ever got to work with him, I'm like, wow. I mean, I was like, I was awestruck, and seriously. And the beauty of it is I went from being a co-worker of Kenny Mayne's to being a friend of Kenny Mayne's, and the friendship that was born out of the job is the best thing that ever happened to me with the job.
That's sweet. I didn't have a good of answer before, but you didn't ask me about Neil in particular. You just wanted to highlight stuff.
Right.
Well, yeah, but Connecticut was your place, though, right? Like
Kenny would crack me up sometimes. I would be laughing so hard, and we wouldn't be on camera. Maybe we would, and Kenny would go, "Oh, we've lost Uncle Neil." And I'm snotting up, my eyes are watering, I'm laughing so hard.
And so one of my favorite things was Neil has a nephew who's got to be like 18 by now or something, right? 20?
21.
Yeah. And I regularly would screw up like a hockey player name or whatever it was. And his nephew gave me a hard time through Neil. So every show after that, if there was a hard name and I got it, what's the kid's name again?
Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer. I'd be like, fuck you, Spencer. I just got it right. Right?
So on the air, he would say, "In your face, nephew Spencer."
It's too good.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then
Neil,
nephew Spencer was in Seattle. He told me a few years ago on the pier or something, and he sees Kenny Mayne, and he runs out and introduces himself. So it comes full circle.
No, I don't know if you guys know this part. Our other running joke was how Oregon broke my leg, Oregon room. So at UNLV, we were at Oregon my junior year, game 5, 6, somewhere there. Last play of the game ruined my ankle for life. So I've held it against Oregon and Oregon people. The kid was just trying to grade out on film on Mondays. Probably some freshman last play. I'm going to make a tackle, but left me on the field. And, you know, when they pan in the old school ways of the film, you go left to right and you end up on the scoreboard, and you see me just still like, you know, spazzing on the floor there. So I played the next year, but now all these years later, actually it leads to a very good full circle healing of it all. I got this leg device that lets me do stuff. I can play flag football. I just ran sprints yesterday, not very fast.
Wow.
Play golf.
Without pain, Kenny, right?
No pain. And then we started a foundation, and we give these devices to veterans who have similar ankle issues for whatever reason. We've helped about 50 years.
Are you faster than Rich Eisen?
I think I could take Rich.
You know,
That'd be a good one.
Who would win a race between you two?
I don't know. I haven't
Kenny.
seen Neil run. I'm slowing down. I
Kenny,
can still
Kenny, because I don't care.
There you go.
You know what?
You win.
Warren Moon told me a long time ago. We did a story. He at the time was the all-time fumbles leader. So we pretended that he was born with butter patties on his hands. And he had to go to James Andrews of Birmingham, Alabama, the famous surgeon. And we got a different gentleman to put his hand, like that was going to be Warren's hand. And he scrapes the butter off. Warren comes back and he can play pro football again. Meanwhile, Dave Craig, who didn't get the butter surgery, can't even hold a golf club. It's just like flank. Yeah, you can Google it. Just Google Butterfingers or whatever.
That's amazing.
Is that Dave Craig from Tiny Milton College?
Which no longer exists. Yeah.
Neil,
Dave Craig was in one of my favorite stories I ever did. We blew up a car in a desert. Dave Craig comes up on horseback. There's a Sopranos. Tony Sirico threatened me. He wanted Super Bowl tickets in real life. So we made our story about the fact I needed to get Super Bowl tickets. That's why my car ended up blowing up. You know, like it was like a Sopranos takeoff. Google my name and Super Bowl. It's the first thing that pops up on YouTube.
Wow. Neil, why did you guys get the entertainment angle? We're having the time of our lives right now, but I feel like I'm watching you guys, you know, do your stuff on TV. Why were you guys so comfortable and so natural when it came to the comedy side of being a broadcaster?
Well, I think if you're, you know, I guess maybe because we did it to crack ourselves up, and if anybody else got the joke, good. But I'm, you know, we're not curing cancer. We're doing a Red Sox highlight. So,
right.
You know, and the E stands for entertainment. So go out and let it rip and have fun. And Kenny really showed us. You know, that, like, I remember anytime I was doing the show with Kenny, which I always greatly anticipated, it's like, okay, I gotta bring a different game. This is gonna be Rowan and Martin, and I gotta make sure I can Martin it, because I'm with one of the funniest dudes. I mean, when people ask me about Kenny Mayne, I'm like, hey, first of all, he's a great guy, but second of all, he's exactly in person as he is on the air. Which is spectacular. I mean, he'll crack you up walking to the coffee shop.
Well, you guys ramped each other's games up, right?
Say again?
You guys ramped each other's games
up. Oh, for sure. Neil brought the best stuff out of me as well. The key thing, though, is it's overused about being authentic, but it's true. Like, I think the way we are conveying things right now isn't all that dissimilar, except we had a tie on and we had to get the scores right. The key thing was, though, is what's the old doctor's adage about first do no harm, you know? So you got to get the score right. You got to get the names right. If you screw up the name, you find a way to make a joke out of it, or the other guy says the name right. You know, you help each other out, right? The more comfortable you are with the material, the better chance you have at throwing in your other nonsense, right? But if you're like doing something that you're unfamiliar with and they give you a shitty shot sheet and you're looking at it, you're live TV and you're just now seeing this piece of paper. You've never seen that highlight. And you think I'm going to call Romania versus Slovenia, team handball. No. So then you start minimizing. I would say things like, that player who made that play doesn't like to be identified individually. He's a team player. He doesn't care about the accolades. You find a way to dance around it if you're in a big hole. But most of the time, even just through osmosis, you just start, you're not working nightly. You pick up, this guy plays for Montreal and this guy plays for whoever. And, it all kind of comes together eventually.
Kenny, did Neil ever help you out with the gambling stuff?
What's that?
Did Neil ever help you out with the gambling stuff?
Not really. I mean, we would
Okay.
occasionally discuss who we liked. Horse racing, we'd have those
Well,
conversations.
yeah, that horse racing was the one thing that I would turn to Kenny and say, "Who do you like?" And I remember one time. I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on. I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm
Oh
like,
no!
oh yeah." Remember that,
I
Kenny?
would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe like it's too late. Get an app. You know?
Are you accusing Kenny of owing you like 2 dimes, Neil? What are you doing right now?
It was a big take that day.
It was probably
But listen,
2 to 5.
he needs the money. He needs the money. Look at the lighting.
There's Gretchen. Say hi to Neil. There's Gretchen.
Oh, Neil.
Hey, hi.
Oh,
Neil.
there's the best thing about Kenny Mayne right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're the best thing. I love you. I miss you.
Where are you going?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gretchen's going to the mall. Bye to Gretchen.
Tis the season.
Gretchen.
Yeah, careful with the traffic.
Coupons.
Neil,
Okay.
can you walk into a bar without anybody
Coupons and
yelling
sales?
Jack at you?
Say again.
Yes, I can walk into. I can walk into a bar and they'll say, "Hey, Bucci." So
You know what I get? I get Rich Eisen, Trey Wingo. One time I was in a men's restroom somewhere at an event, and the guy said Stuart Scott, and that guy was just being funny, right?
Right.
And then we were washing our hands. Where I said, and there's this weird silence because we haven't acknowledged that I'm not Stuart Scott. And I said, I'm not. You just got the names. I'm not Stuart Scott. He said, you guys, you're.
Oh no!
I think what it is, people have watched, through the years, 2 different anchors on a Thursday and then the Friday, and this new guy comes in and they just have a bunch of names up here and they say the wrong one sometimes. But I can see Trey Wingo, old white guys, gray hair, Rich.
I get Stan Everett all the time.
Oh no!
One of my favorite periods was Neil had moved out to LA with Stan, right? They started the whole LA SportsCenter thing. I had left Connecticut to move back to Seattle, and I was doing football stories and around the world stories, the wider world of sports, all that. And then they wanted some sports centers, and the best way to do them was run down to LA. I was basically the backup for if Neil needed a night off to go to a Dead show. Can you come down on a Friday? Or Stan's golfing for 2 days, whatever. So sometimes I do 5 in a row, but that was so fun. Just the whole thing, flying down to LA, being by the beach, running in to do the late sports center, which wasn't nearly as late as the late one in Connecticut, right? 3 hour better. Like they're late in Connecticut. You don't get home till 3 and 4 in the morning. The late one in LA, it's like midnight. Like that's a reasonable time of day. You're not completely a shell of yourself the next day.
Ken, we have not talked about the movie yet. So
that's complete bullshit. That's the whole reason I'm on here.
Correct. It is always when you're on here is to talk about the movie. We haven't talked about wiffle ball yet. 1989, you and Ken Griffey Jr., you showed the picture. Where did the comedy documentary premise come from, and what are they going to see when they watch it?
Well, strangely, it came from Griffey, although he didn't want to be in it ultimately, like to be interviewed or be a part of it. So I was at the Seattle Sports Award Show a couple of years ago, and he gave this beautiful speech. It was like my favorite Griffey moment, really, besides his great athletic ability as a Mariner. Just gave this really humble, funny speech, very warm. He was getting like the same award that Fred Couples will get at this year's event, right? And Griffey brought up the wiffle ball time that we had together from 34 years ago. And I'm like, if he's still thinking about it, there's something, I got to find that tape. And the tape had been in garages and basements and moving vans all over the country.
Like a Betamax or a VHS
It was on a
tape?
broadcast Beta SP. So for the younger kids, you don't know, when I first started in TV, they used film, and my first day on the job was the last day they used film. Then they moved to 3/4 inch tape. Then it was this 1/2 inch tape. Anyway, Griffey, Harold Reynolds, and I did a little feature story. And as part of it, we threw wiffle balls at the Seattle Science Center, the Pacific Science Center. And like I said, I had this tape all these years. So the point of the documentary is to look back at that day and time and tell the truth of what happened. Did I beat him? What happened that day? Ken Burns is in it. We got music from The Head and the Heart, Pearl Jam, a rapper named Sam LaChow up in Seattle. the head of wiffle ball. I hired a science professor from the University of Washington to analyze the tape.
Wow.
So it's like a half hour, just stupidity, pointlessness, but it's fun seeing Griffey at 19 and finding out if I can beat my number. I go to Driveline Baseball, where they train all the athletes.
Yeah.
In Kent. And it was fun. And Fubo Sports is the one that put it out. So if you're a Fubo subscriber, click on demand as many times.
Trey Wingo plays Kenny Mayne in the movie.
No, I played myself. I financed it myself, directed it, authored it, starred in it. I'm everything. And hopefully it leads us to getting to do our next one and our next one.
We need to do another one with the two of you. Can we get Neil involved in the movie too? I mean, I'll just
the next movie is going to be playing skee ball with Ken Griffey Sr. on the Seaside Boardwalk.
For the Tuella Fair.
The chat
subscribers, let's go. Do your job.
Yeah, the chat wants to know Amazon freebie, LG channels, Samsung TV Plus, Sling free stream, the Roku channel, Vizio watch free, Tubi, Plex, and Tabo plus Fubo Sports. It's part of their subscription.
It's playing right now on your TV. Just go watch it. Just
you go find it right now.
Your TV, it's right up there. There's one of our two kittens. Hold on. It's Walter.
That's a kitten. That's a kitten. That's not a kitten.
Oh, wow.
Cat's like, what is going on?
What are you doing?
That cat, he could claw your face off at any minute. You don't know what he's capable
Cats are crazy.
I love cats. I didn't think I did. Now that we have them, I love them.
Really? Yeah. Neil, what do you got there?
He's got a dog. He's got his dog.
Dog guy.
Oh, dog guy.
Dog guy. What's dog?
I got 3 dogs. I got 3 dogs and a cat.
I didn't know you had a cat too.
Wait. Do you want to see our Christmas
cat
tree?
Was our next door. I'm talking. Kenny, I'm talking. Kenny, I'm talking. The cat was our next door neighbors, and they just moved and left it. And just left it. So the cat has been ours for about, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years now.
Wow.
They were horrible.
Come on.
Whoa. Look at this.
That's a big tree.
I had to put the ornaments on from the balcony up there. I had to just throw ornaments at the tree at the top. There was no way. I'm scared of heights. I wasn't climbing a ladder to put shit up. So,
Kenny, how's the ankle now? Like, are you still in pain walking?
I'm in pain right now. I'm putting out for the show.
I mean, sit down. Don't get
I'm
hurt.
in pain just from the lack of lighting that you've got going, Kenny. My eyes are strained.
This is a key artifact right here.
Look at this. Seattle Pilots?
That's right.
Is that an original?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The
museum
stuff between you got.
Right. Hold on. This is important.
Okay.
You see that thing there?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's an artist depiction guy named Keegan Hall up in Seattle. I don't know if you know him, Neil. He does artwork with like a mechanical pencil. That's a pencil drawing.
Wow.
Whoa.
We're trying to find the biggest fan of that guy to pay for that. We'll give it to him. The money will go to Run Freely. We'll get another veteran out there running pain free.
Oh, we got to figure out something.
For now, it's sitting right there. It's not moving.
Yeah, we got to do something with Run Freely because our loyal viewers and people that watch the show somehow just came out of my mouth and called the BvB Brigade. So we have a big, we have a lot of military guys.
Yeah.
That are current and past and stuff that listen to the show, watch the show and stuff all over. So we got to figure out something to do.
Can I give a movie recommendation? I'd like to.
Sure.
Please.
It's on HBO Max. It's called Yacht Rock.
Oh, I heard about
so
this.
Good.
My sister told me about this yesterday.
I might watch it again. It's that good. So
I'll write that down.
I didn't know this to be true because people have thought that's sort of a put down. Oh, Yacht Rock. It's kind of cheesy or whatever, right? But it's not. It's Doobie Brothers. It's Steely Dan. It's all Michael McDonald, on and on and on. And so there was a group of comedians who did a show, and they called that kind of era, that genre of music, yacht rock. And they did this silly little Wayne's World-y feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the term just hung on. So they ended up doing a documentary talking to all the central figures of the music in that era. It's really amazing, and the music's great too.
I understand Donald Fagen was a big fan of the term, Kenny.
He is he the guy who hung up on them on the interview? Yeah, that was a very funny moment. But you know the group Toto, who I always thought shame on me. I kind of mocked. Toto had a dumb name for openers. Toto was called on by Quincy Jones to be involved in the Michael Jackson album.
Oh,
They were like backup players, all sorts of people that they played for. Like they were high-level musicians. But I think sometimes you'll hear one song and think they're Air Supply or something. No offense to the Air Supply fans out there. But
Steve Lukather of Toto is one of the great guitarists, session and leads for Toto.
there you go. That's
I can talk all day about Toto.
Keep talking.
you could? You got
Yeah,
that in your back pocket? I mean, you're a music guy. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
hold the line. I mean, come on. Yeah. I mean, 99, out of Africa. What do you want to know? Three brothers from LA started the band. Two of them are no longer with us. One left the band not that long ago. Lukather's been in the band forever. They've had two lead singers, basically. One is John Anderson, the big composer for all the movies. It's his son. He's the lead singer. He's the lead singer right now.
Do you have Wikipedia pulled up right
John
next
Williams?
to you right now, Neil? Do you have Wikipedia pulled up next to you right now?
You said John Anderson. John Williams?
John Williams. Yeah.
That's how we help each other out.
There you go.
You guys work with
fucked up a hockey name, and I was right there for him.
You know
guys
what?
work with John Anderson.
One thing Kenny would do that was always so great, if he made a mistake, and because we were always the show a record, he would go, then he would say like, pause for edit later. Boom, and then pick back up. It worked. It was so brilliant.
Well,
So
what's really
brilliant.
funny, we were talking about the technology changing. In the old days, and Neil and I working together back in Connecticut, they had it on what's called 2-inch tapes in the back room, these big reels, right? Like you see. And then they moved to digital. So in the old days, if somebody screwed up something, whether, 19 rebounds, you got to change it to 20 because there was a scoring error, whatever, you had to be right? So you had to stay late. The show's over, right? The show's now repeating because the first part of the show's clean, right? The A's are good. God forbid the A's aren't good, because then you got to let the first part of the A's, which were good, be good. Then you got to jump in on, 4 minutes into the show and clean up the horrible highlight that you screwed up, or whatever the case, right? So we had to do these exacting fixes where you had to jump in for 2.5 seconds, just in the right spot. And if you didn't do it, you do it over and over and over. With the digital age, Tommy would just say Krivo Krasov, and then he'd take Krivo Krasov and stick it in his pocket. Hobby Bulin. Nikolai Hobby Bulin. It's not Khabibulin. It's not Khabibulin.
You've got to promote for people to look up the old Main Street that Fixes was the issue, was the name of the episode, I believe, with Kenny and Scott Van Pelt, and it's one of the funniest things you'll see on television. So, right, is it called Fixes? Isn't it, Ken?
It's probably my favorite one we did. So this is like the little comedy show we did at ESPN. It was just to be taking my life there and making it more absurd. Allison Becker was great in that. Aubrey Plaza, you've heard of her. John
the guy Schwartz, Ben Schwartz,
Chris Smith, Lenny Jacobson, John Mulaney was in one episode. I didn't know who the hell he was. His just got him John. Who the fuck are you doing there? Get out of here, kid. Had no idea. Hopefully I didn't mistreat him too bad that day. But Fixes was the whole episode was about me screwing up Rafa Nadal's name. And I just can't get it right. I keep calling him Rafi. And Allison's like, no, that's
it's as funny a thing as you'll ever see.
Van Pelt was hysterical. He's like going through a divorce because he's never home, because he's not home, because I can't say Rafa Nadal. His counselor's name was
For the love of God, Kenny.
Yeah. That was one of my favorites for sure.
That was funny.
Neil, have you seen The Dead at the Sphere yet?
No, you know what? I missed it, but they're coming back. They just announced they're coming back. So I really wanted to go in honor of Bill Walton, but it just never materialized. So we'll go again. Hopefully we'll make it this time.
What's the last concert you saw, Neil? Like recently?
What's the last concert?
Yeah.
They did a tribute to Robbie Robertson at the Forum. Martin Scorsese was shooting it for film. It started at 7, ended at midnight. Had Eric Clapton, Van Morrison, Mavis Staples. Oh God! It was I can't even think of all the people it had. It was an all-nighter. It was really something to be at. Robbie Robertson was the leader of the band. That was Bob Dylan's electric band in Newport, and then became the band in The Last Waltz, and which was the first rockumentary, which was filmed by Scorsese. So it was really cool.
You're a
Ryan
wealth of knowledge.
Do you need to know anything more about Toto?
No, but I think in my last concert, I don't mean to top that, but
Please do.
Because you won't.
Stevie Wonder. Thank you. I'm out.
Wow.
Yeah, in
That's
Atlanta,
a good one.
with my nephew Troy, who's blind. You've met Troy.
Oh yeah.
He wanted to go so badly to Atlanta to see my daughter, his cousin, and go to the Seahawks game. They were playing Atlanta, and then just coincidental that weekend, Stevie Wonder announced that 10-city tour he did. So we go Stevie Wonder. Next day, we go to the Seahawks beating Atlanta. The Seahawks are on a nice little roll right now. Also, I'm scared to go in the Sphere. I have claustrophobia. I don't know if I can handle. It's like those Japanese shows, where there's too much light coming at you. Like, I don't know if I can handle it.
It's pretty big.
There's
though.
medication. There's medication for that, Ken.
I have to consider. But I got a good Troy story for you.
Okay.
So they were at a restaurant, and this is no knock on anybody of faith or anything like that. It's just a funny story. And this man came up and said, "Can I say a prayer for your son? Troy's blind from birth." And they're like, "Oh, that's very sweet." He says a prayer, calls on God to heal this child and bring back his sight. And they go on, they thank him. And later, like during dessert, the guy comes over and he looks at Troy and he says, "Anything?" And Troy looks up and goes, "Still blind."
Oh no. And what did the guy react?
Must have got a sense of humor from his Uncle Kenny.
So Troy, also about 10 years ago, we did this for Funny or Die. I think you can look it up unless they've scrubbed it from the internet, but we did blind football announcer.
Oh no.
And we went to a real Seahawks game. Like they gave us
This is
a movie.
hilarious. This is another thing people to go find on the internet because it is drop dead funny.
Troy's like, "Richard Sherman with the interception." It's like, "No, Troy, we're on fucking offense. All right, we have the ball. We're not on defense." So ultimately, it was a 5-minute blind joke, but it's his joke. He's the one who's blind. He's the one who thought of it. So we're off the hook.
Oh,
Oregon broken leg.
what was that called? Oh, I gotta get that one.
Blind football announcer.
Blind football announcing. Oh my goodness gracious. Listen, guys, this
Do
is
you guys not have any commercials? Is this like
Correct.
CBS?
we just go
CBS?
straight. Hour
We
4
just-
minutes straight.
Ford Motor Company.
Yes, we just roll on the show. This has been unbelievably fun, funny. The brigade has been.
We didn't
in love
even
with
get
it.
into the Juan Soto signing. Dang.
Oh my God, $3 billion or something.
The
I
best.
thought he
line
was going to
so
go
far-
to Seattle. No,
He never signed it.
The best line yet is that the contract for Juan Soto is more money than the Pirates have spent on their entire payroll for the last 10 years. Last 10 years.
It's not that funny, Kenny. There's no
That's
need
really
to laugh
funny.
about that.
I don't
not that funny.
understand. Baseball has no rules. Baseball's like
None.
NIL, and any team can do whatever they want. It will pay you in 100 years. Your errors will get. So they can just make up whatever the fuck they want.
Right. It's
Other
unbelievable.
leagues have to go by these strict, clauses and pay a luxury tax and all that type of stuff. So it is just the way it is. Some guy
What is
gets
your
a-
favorite sport, Kenny?
Tackle football for sure.
Neil, what is your favorite sport? Do you even like sports anymore? I mean, do you watch sports at
NFL.
all?
College basketball, college football.
Oh,
You know why I like pro football better than college football?
why?
Why?
Because the players are better.
Fair.
You've been waiting a whole hour to drop that, haven't you?
I'm holding
Yeah,
casino
proud.
dice. I always
Well,
on the set. Remember, I always had like a pacifier, either a pen or dice. So like during break, it's supposed to be making changes to the show. We're like shooting dice, seeing how many hard ways we could hit.
Is that your
Parlay,
casino
right
game of choice, Kenny?
Craps.
Dice?
It's so dumb, but when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's not good. You know what I mean?
It's okay. I mean, it's like sex, right? It's good. It is, but when it's real good, it's real good. Right?
It's better than everything else generally, yes. And then sometimes it's the great. But the thing is, some of the tables, it's like when they have a bad attitude.
Oh,
I don't stand for it. I start smarting off. I was like, guys, you should be rooting for us because then we'll tip you and why are you having an attitude? Or like you've been playing the 11-12 and you don't play it once and it comes in. Oh, you should have bet oh, really? You can bet afterward? You saw what happened.
Yeah.
So we were somewhere and I kind of scrubbed my hand and one die made it to the end. The other one only went like a foot or two.
Good.
And they got on me about my ability to I said,
you got to hit the back wall, Kenny. You're a former quarterback, for God's sake. You got to hit the back wall.
I know, but sometimes, you just went like this. You know what I'm saying? So I told him I could throw it harder if he'd like me to. So I threw it really hard, and the dice came back, and it hit him in the face.
Oh.
I didn't mean to do that.
Uh-oh.
But he asked for it.
Sure that went over well.
Neil, what's your favorite game of choice in a casino?
Pai Gow.
Well, I like to play blackjack, but I just learned how to play roulette over Thanksgiving. That was fun.
But where you guess a number and a thing spins with a ball in it?
Yeah, there's only like 36 or whatever you can bet on numbers, and I never knew how to put it in the middle to get all four numbers and all that. So I was watching somebody play and had a little fun doing that.
I do children's birthday.
I just want to remind everybody that go to the GoFundMe page so that Kenny can pay his light bill. Okay.
We need to do. This is another idea to put in your back pocket, Kenny.
Yeah.
We'll do a casino. You playing a game, Neil playing a game. Like people will watch this. Like you come to Vegas, maybe we'll do it here, or we'll go to some Indian casino up in Seattle. We'll meet up there or in Portland.
Well, a bunch of friends went to Vegas, and I saw casino on the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
So it was already in my head.
Oh.
We decided to go downtown to change our luck. Went to a certain place, had just this amazing roll. This was one of those good nights, sex night at the table.
Yep.
Your illusion there. And my friend throws, and one of the die stacks up against some chips. So it's this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not this way. It's like on an edge. And they quickly pulled it and said 7 out. And we're like, how did you call that a 7? It never fell. And they didn't explain. My guy lost his mind.
You got to call the super over. You got to call timeout. Call 20 second timeout.
I pointed to the bar. They didn't listen. I get the dice and just threw them overhand off the table. And then we left. But we were worried, like casino, either we're going to get arrested, something bad's going to happen to somebody. Let's just take our winnings and get the hell out of here, which is what.
Can you shuffle your checks with your other hand?
Yeah. But I want to know what the rule is on that, because
Dave,
I was told you're supposed to act like if it fell, where would it have fallen? But you can't say that because it could be spinning. Like, how are you going to say this was going to do that?
So the super's supposed to come over and actually, I mean, you're supposed to just re-roll the dice.
Agreed.
Is ultimately what you're supposed to do. Just grab it, re-roll the dice. But sometimes they will say, well, it's leaning this way. It would fall on the 6. So we got a 6 and a 4. It's a 10.
How do you know it would fall that way? Because you stopped it to like claymation, and it was fast moving. It was fast action.
You got to protest.
We can keep going. There's no commercials here.
Yeah,
Ford Motor Company. And
Neil, what are you having for lunch today? Are you doing anything for lunch?
We
Neil?
had pho.
No, I'm not. I'm drinking my lunch right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Gretchen's spending the rest of our money at the mall right now. I'm just here with 4 pets. That's all I got, guys.
All right.
Whiffle ball.
Kenny Mayne,
now
Whiffle
on 100 different media.
Yes,
right?
You guys can go watch it right now. Stream it for free on Amazon Freebie, LG Channel, Samsung TV Plus, Sling free stream in the Roku channel, and Fubo Sports. Tubi as well.
Tubi's as well.
Tubi as well. Tableau TV as well.
I like it when you're watching the NCAA tournament and you have to watch on channels you've never heard of. You
The
know,
worst.
like
The worst.
Home and Science Channel with North Carolina State Furman. Okay, it's a 116.
Guys, thank you for doing this. This was awesome. This is super fun. Neil, thank you for coming on. This was really a treat to have you both on together. Thank you for being good sports and doing this with us.
See you at the Rose Bowl, Everett.
Thank you for my
Ski
life.
ball, fall of 2026.
It's Kenny Mayne and Neil Everett joining us
Come
here
on,
on the
guys.
Boston
Thank
versus
you.
the Book. What a damn show this was. That was absolutely unbelievable. What
My
a
side hurts.
amazing opportunity that those guys just gave us. I hopefully you guys enjoyed that because that